what was in Prophet's mind when he created the religion, and what was it? Islam was created against the
preceding religions?
atrocities of the Roman
No.
Empire, or the
No, not against any empire, not against any religion that existed. He came to verify that all the prophets, Prophet Moses, Prophet Jesus, are the messengers of Allah. They established the right religion. I'm here to continue. It's a continuation. It's not a new faith that was presented to the humanity. Like I said in my speech, there are three objectives of every prophet. These are like sealed objectives. Number one, divine unity, that there is only one God, and then they preached that the way of life for that specific people. So some of the prophets came for specific reforms. If you look at the prophet by name Shuaib alayhi salam, he came for a specific economic reform. There were a lot of
when was his time?
Good question. Maybe I can give you the reference. No, that
before-
was before
before
the last prophet. So these stories are mentioned in the Quran. The historical timeline, I will probably
Because there is some archaeological and historical truth in every religion.
Absolutely.
And there are too many masala added in every religion, which creates a confusion of what is the truth and what is the true timeline.
Well, this was a question that was asked to the Prophet as well. A person came to the Prophet and said, there are so many faiths and so many beliefs. I'm really confused. What should I believe in? The beautiful answer that the Prophet gave, look at the stars. They are guided in a specific axis. We all know that they rotate in a specific axis and they don't go astray. And then he said, trust the one who is guiding you. So if you have a direct connection with Almighty, the one who created you, putting aside all our perceptions, our biases and our contemplation, putting all of that aside, if I'm trying to connect with the Almighty and addressing Him as the one who created me, and if you ask for guidance, do you think He'll not guide us? What is your perception?
Maybe Kuvempu said that we need to find our own religion. We need each person to his own religion,
Well,
to his own God.
Absolutely. That's his perception. What I am saying is, when you try to communicate with Almighty, He is all-knowing, right? And He's still listening to this conversation as well. And one of His many attributes, He knows what's there in your heart, because He's the one who designed us. Like a software engineer would know everything about the software when he designs it. So he's the master designer. He knows everything.
But there are spywares and malwares which hijack the software.
That's because of creation, right?
No,
Creating creation, and he's the one who created everything out of nothing with his own power, right? Which means the attribution to God with human qualities, that is when the problem arises. God doesn't react like us. He does. If you probably say something to me or slap me or hurt me in any way, or even my faith, I may react in a certain way because of me being human. But God doesn't react like that. If He started punishing everybody and started reacting like human beings, this world would have ended a long time ago. Right.
See, from the human emotions to relate to the level of divinity, wherein you can forgive somebody who urinated in the mosque, is a level of consciousness which is higher. But what I observed is among the different religions, like even Islam, Hinduism, or Christianity, there is a hierarchy of people with blue-green eyes being on top and
Right.
The black iris. I mean, I call it the European genetics and the Arctic genetic and the African genetics. So even among Islam, there is a hierarchy of caste.
Do you know about that hierarchy?
I don't remember the names exactly, but there are something like Sunnis are higher than Shias or something like that. I mean,
That's an incorrect perceived, idea that Sunnis are superior. Nobody is superior to anybody. And this was the command of the Prophet when he performed the last Hajj before he passed away. He said, no Arab is superior over a non-Arab. Now, if you look at the genesis of Islam, right, from the time of the Prophet, Arabs should be considered the most superior race, and some of them actually may even believe that this is the birthplace of Islam, and we are the Arabs, and we rule everything. And Prophet made it clear: don't even let it encroach your lives or even your minds. No person is superior over anyone. So that is why when we stand for prayers, right, there is no prioritization. There is no hierarchy here. The only reason why the imam stands there is to lead the player for uniformity. It's not hierarchy. The only hierarchy that God has explained in Quran, we created in you in different tribes so that you can identify each other, not because of superiority. Number one. Number two, the only person who is higher in ranks is the one who is pious. That is the only validation that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody else talks about hierarchy here. Now, you may get confused with hierarchy when you're referring to a madrasa. When you go to a madrasa, you have principal, you have teachers, you have senior teachers, you have junior teachers. That is only limited to that school. It's a school concept. But as in every religion, right, you have scholars. So we, out of respect, because they are people of knowledge, we give them some more respect. But they don't have that hierarchical position or position of command or whatsoever. There is no such hierarchy.
The Gurudwara person, he said, in Gurudwara we have 4 doors wherein people can come from all. In a mosque and in a temple or in a church, there is one door, one wall which is designated for the Lord or something.
Okay.
But what I found was the Sufis have a tomb, wherein it can be approached from all directions.
Right.
So is Sufi more decentralized than Islam? Or?
Well, it's an expression. It depends, right? If you looking at a structure, and if the engineer for some reason planted only one door, it doesn't mean it's not open for others.
No, there is a direction which is closed in temple or mosque or
all right.
the
So
Kaaba.
in that context, right, we Muslims pray in a direction, and that unifies the entire world, right? When I'm talking about all the Muslims across the globe, we have to pray in one direction. We are not praying to the Kaaba here. It is just means so that we pray in one direction. Now, if that is the direction, if we place a door there, then it becomes a little difficult. Because I'm bowing down, I'm prostrated, there shouldn't be any person in front of me. Even if there is a person, it doesn't matter. But out of respect, we don't have a door there, because if that is that is the direction that we prostrate and we bow down, then the people entering from that door, and Islam is against polytheism or how do I explain this? It believes in one God, right? Now, हम किसी के आगे झुक नहीं सकते. We cannot prostrate to anybody, to anything.
See, there is importance given to Prophet and his son-in-law. Why not the daughter?
Why not the?
Daughter. Is there a patriarchy in Islam?
I'm sorry, could you reframe?
There is importance given to Prophet and his son-in-law, but not
Why
the
do you say this is importance?
The mention about Prophet being, there are different faiths, right? Different sects in, I think the Shias believe in the son-in-law and the Sunnis, I don't know which one exactly.
So the difference of opinion is with the political power. After the demise of the Prophet, so there was a power struggle, right? Now, I wouldn't call it power struggle because people wanted power for themselves. People were not uniting under one person, and they wanted to, choose different personalities for different reasons. All of them were very well trained by the Prophet, and in their hearts they never had any hatred for anybody. When the Khalifa or the first Khalifa or the leader of the entire Muslim sect was chosen, there was a difference of opinion. That it should have been the cousin of the Prophet, who's Ali radiallahu anhu, who's from the same progeny of the Prophet. That is the disagreement there. And from that point on, they have some other cultural practices that we may disagree upon. It is not referring to any sort of hierarchy here. Any superiority, there is nothing. I will tell you one interesting fact. When the daughter of the Prophet did not have any sons. He had 4 daughters. So one of the daughters is Fatima radiallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with her. When she was being buried, so there was this companion of the Prophet by name Abu Zar Ghifari. He spoke to the grave and he said, "Do you know who's coming into you?" And then he experienced, right? It is a metaphysical experience. I do not see who comes to me. I only see whether this person has good deeds or bad deeds. in accordance to that, I treat that person. It doesn't matter to me if it's the son of prophet or even father of the prophet. Now, you're talking about hierarchy here. Even the progeny of the prophet doesn't come in that categorization of hierarchy. Out of respect, because they are the progeny of the prophet, we have special respect. We pay respect. But they do not, even if they come here, they don't get an appointed or a specified place that, okay, this is like the biggest, biggest position.
I mean, your conclusion was the genetics is not involved. The
Definitely
cousin was
not.
not preferred, but the son-in-law was preferred because of his virtues.
Not because of the virtues. There are many other factors that came into consideration. So we have a council, right? So there was a council of the companions of the prophets. Everybody voted who should be the next Khalifa. So the progeny, he actually became the Khalifa, but the third. That is what Shias mostly disagree with us. And that doesn't make us superior or them superior. It is just different school of thought.
So the Khalifa is different between Shia and Sunni.
The Khalifas are not different. They disagree that Abu Bakr became the first Khalifa. What they believe is Ali should have been the Khalifa.
Ali is the cousin and
Is the cousin
and Abu
and the
Bakr is
son-in-law.
son-in-law.
No, Abu Bakr is not the son-in-law. He's the father-in-law of the Prophet. Yes.
Ali is the son-in-law as well as his cousin. He's both. He's related in two different ways. And talking about patriarchy, right? If you see Prophet Muhammad's lineage, God made sure that his lineage is carried forward through her daughter. So he's given respect to daughter.
And no one from the progeny of the Prophet ever ruled.
No, it's not ruling. See, religious head is a different side of a mind control rather than the control of money or control of land or anything.
So if you're talking about religious head, right? The religious head in this context is a Khalifa, political leader. If you put politics aside, let's say there is no politics here, and there's just a group of Muslims, who is going to lead them? It's the one who is the most learned. It could be anybody, coming from any background, even a revert.
And see, what I felt was the Genesis theory and the evolution theory. Genesis theory is more centralization, and evolution theory is decentralization. Because it can happen in a multicentric way across the world, irrespective of where it starts. And so, definitely, as religion should make us non-violent, but you were asking for the answers wherein the violent responses, which commonly happen.
I had an agenda behind that.
So, maybe a prophet has to be reborn to teach Owaisi some lessons about being non-violent. And
Well, I'm not going to speak for anybody.
No,
We are people who are tremendously flawed as human beings, and Allah says in Quran, "Ya bani Adam, O son of Adam, kullukum khatam." All of you are sinners. All of you are imperfect. And when you try to see perfection in a person, or the interpretation of Islam itself, 100% interpretation, you will not find it. We try as much as possible.
there is a concept of saying that we are actually extraterrestrial beings who are being punished because of our flaws there, punished to relieve
Does
the
that make
emotions
sense
in. No, I mean, it's a concept.
I understand.
To live this human life and analyze our own concept, our own flaws, and reform so that we, by the end of our life, will be a better person in that planetary, in that planetary life.
Oh, right.
So-
It's like a different dimension.
And they say that it's not that they are dead or born; they are living forever. But they live this life transiently, and one whole lifetime of human life is actually just few hours of that extraplanetary life. So there are some concepts like this, but probably it could be true, or it could be some imagination, or it could be something like that. Because many times I feel
So you probably heard of the concept of time. It changes with gravity and
the warp and
right.
quantum.
Yes. So there are factual evidence that the concept of time changes there. A few minutes here could be a year, a lot of years there. So the same thing is explained here. The life after death, there is no concept of time here. Time is part of creation. Allah created time, right? So in this 60, 70 years that we have been given, you're thoroughly tested. and you sow what you reap, or you reap what you sow. Sorry.
I mean, born as a Gauda, probably a Sanatana Dharmi or a Hindu. I believe that truth is the only religion and nature is the only God. And law of nature is karma. Sir keeps on telling that you are an atheist.
Actually, if you see, what we say is the same. Truth is Allah. You know, it correlates to the same. Allah is Haq.
But it comes down to this. I have my theory of what I believe in, and there are theories out there. But what matters is if the one who created me, if I'm able to identify it. But when you go back there, right? Hypothesis, okay? When you go back to your creator, if creator asks you, why didn't you recognize me? And I give all the resources to you that could map all of the creation back to me, but yet you continue to believe in what you think was right. That can be a big of a challenge for a person. No, see, Islam offers a lot of logic. If it does not validate logic, then you can talk about it.
I mean, as I told you, all religions have some truth of archaeology and
The
history.
archaeological evidence is talking about history. It's mapping history.
Yeah, that's right.
We're not talking about mapping history here. We're talking about the metaphysical concepts that are explained and what is the truth in that and how do you believe in it, right? How do you have that courage to actually believe that there has been messengers, a chain of messengers who've been sent, which is more logical here, who instead of just claiming things out of thin air, there is a chain, right? Every era that you look at, right, from the time of the Prophet Adam, right, until the last time, humanity has to be guided, and it's a requirement. I can go back to my Almighty and say, I did not have anybody to explain it to me. How do you expect me to believe it?
Don't you think it is quite regionalist?
It is absolutely
The
regional. I think you got it
European
right.
and Middle East area had this concept of Adam and
Not
maybe
just European
ultimately-
and Middle East area.
But
the
somewhere
entire
down
planet
the-
had it.
No, entire planet had different regions with different
Different people,
people
and
guiding
different
them.
prophets guiding them in
At
different times. Yeah.
So, I mean, some labeled it as one religion.
Asking questions by questions. We are not supposed to give this much answer. 15 minutes is completed. We give only 5 minutes to everyone. There's 18 minutes completed. Okay, you
I'm so
have to
sorry
answer
about
another one.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
If there is a specific question, just take his number and we'll
Yeah,
give
maybe you can share your questions with us and we can have a discussion at length. We can have a productive discussion. I'm
Namaste
sorry, I
is going
didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Sorry.